Let's be real. Let's talk about how you really feel. We're driving
Hello, and welcome to Let's Be Real Talk Show, and I'm your host, Joshanae Tucker. We all know that men and women tend to have different perspectives when it comes to sex and relationships. In this episode, we will discuss a variety of topics that should open our eyes to both viewpoints. To help us achieve that, we have invited two guests, Mr. Robert Shamlin and Mr. L.J. Smith. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
So, let's dive in. Sex versus love. What are you guys' perspectives on sex and love?
There's a difference between sex and love. There's definitely a difference. One of the things I wanted to establish in having this discussion is that women are emotional, men are egotistical, and because of that, they love different. They view love different, and they view sex different. And the way men view love, women view love different. The way men view sex, women view sex different. So there's definitely a difference between the two. And women can do both and be good at it. Men struggle to do either. Love or to really maintain good, healthy sexual relationship with one woman.
Okay, well, to piggyback off of that, there is a huge difference, and it's deeper than what a lot of people think. Love and sex, you can be in love with a person, and you can be infatuated with a person. Mm-hmm. That's sexually, that's the difference. And it goes all the way back to science too, with if you don't use protection, the stuff goes to your brain and soul ties and all that. So all that plays a huge part in love and sex. Now, you can be in a situation where no sex is involved, but you love the person, just dependent. But if you have a struggle, then your sex is gonna come into play. If you struggle with sex, so all that plays a huge part between love and sex. You just have to find the balance and know where you are in your life, to separate the two, so they won't clash. That's my little summary on that part.
Okay, ladies, how do you view sex and love?
Sex is like an emotional connection. Love to me is feelings, which both runs emotional, can have an emotional connection. Like you said, when it comes to soul ties, that's when, just like personally, I had this friend and we grew up as lovers. Like my first love, he was my first love. Never had sex until we got older, but just having love for him when I was younger, I felt like, hey, can't nobody else compare to the love that I had for him. And it became an emotional attachment when he ended up dying, So that was it's a big difference. So when we had sex, it became a connection. An unbearable connection. Struggling to let him go, I had love, and then now it's this sexual type look. Now I can't get this no more, I had that feeling for him. It was like a deeper feeling. Sex is like on a whole nother level when it comes to love and sex. Comparing the two is just, putting them together is something.
I totally agree. Actually, I totally agree with Mr. Shamlin, his point of view. But if I would just kind of like break it down and put it in plain English terms and in my own words, I view love as a commitment between two individuals where you actually commit to love each other. And then as far as sex, I view that as that wonderful gift that God has given us once two individuals are, of course, married. It's just that beautiful thing that we get to do, once we're married.
I agree.
I totally agree with that. I definitely believe that sex in the right context is a great thing, and it's definitely an action that just shows the love that has already been there. So we're gonna dive even deeper. Is role play necessary in the bedroom?
I think it is. I mean, I want to speak. I really think role playing.
So you want to be a nurse?
Yes, I'll be a nurse. I'll be a maid. I'll be whatever he want me to be. Whatever, to satisfy his needs. I mean, that's even for him. If I wanted him to do something and he know me and he's my partner, I would expect the same thing from him. I don't want the fire to die down. I don't. That's just me. I can't speak for everybody, but yes, role playing is a big key for me in a relationship. I have no problem with it.
I can understand that. What I say is necessary. I don't know. I think that would depend on the couple. The conversations. I don't know if it's necessary, but would it be spicy or keep? I mean, I would agree on that, but I don't just know if it's necessary. But I think it would depend on the situation.
And I agree with him. I wouldn't say that it's necessary. I definitely wouldn't say that it's necessary. But I do think that if that's what two people desire and that's what they want, kudos, to them. But, I don't have time to be running out in no uniform and all of that. You know what I'm saying?
Give me a Batman.
Whatever.
You're talking about the Batman.
I'll jump out of the Batman. Okay, Batman. But
It ain't so much have to be. It don't so much have to be characteristic, but just spicing it up. I feel like it's necessary. I do. Like I said again, speaking from me, I do. I just like that. I mean, that's just who I am as a person.
And I believe that's fine for, if that's the way that, two people say, hey, this is what's needed for us to spice it up, more power to you.
Just to spice it up. But the question is role play. Now, spicing it up is different. Spicing it up, I think, is necessary. But is role play necessary?
It ain't necessary. Like I said, it's up to the person. What your desires are, and what your wants is. And that's a desire of mine. That's my want. That's what I want in my relationship.
Well, I think it's about, from my perspective, when y'all talk about role playing in the context of a marriage and relationships and sex, I think two things that have to be there in order for it to be healthy, long term, and satisfying, and that's romance and passion. Yeah. And romance and passion has to do with how the couple feels about each other, how they romance each other, how they talk to each other, how they feel about each other. When I counsel couples, as far as married couples, I tell the guy always, you start making love to your wife from the time she wake up that morning. Now, how her day goes to determine how your night goes. Yes. And if you romance her all day long, you excite the passion in her.
Later on.
By talking to her, flirting with her, engaging her, being, you talk about, I ain't gonna necessarily say role playing, but flirting with her all day long. Because women, they love that verbal or really written foreplay. And then they do the verbal stuff. You send them a text and flirt with them all day and say things that kind of excite her. That's when I talk about passion and romance, that's what keeps it spicy. I'm not necessarily, I don't know about role play, but I just think you got to keep the passion alive.
Can I ask you a question?
Totally.
Go ahead.
Flirting. Would flirting be a form of role play? Because you said flirting from for me, now flirting can also be a form of role play.
It can be, but women are verbal. They want to hear things. They
Yeah,
want,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
they you can talk to them. You know, you can talk to them in a romantic way, or you can talk to them in what we would term as a dirty way. Women like that kind of talk, especially if you have a bond and connection with your spouse or in your relationship. They do like that. I mean, they can be role play. You know, women like that some form of aggression because women like aggressive men who can take
So with that
charge.
being said, I'm going to cut you off. With that being said, is that still role play?
I don't know if it's necessarily role play. Role play defined with the way I'm understanding it is I'm playing a character to seduce my spouse. So I'm dressing up. I'm either being the plumber that's coming in and supposed to be fixing the plumbing, but then something breaks off. That's role playing to me.
Yeah.
But flirting is something completely different because you're talking more when you're flirting. But when you role play, you're doing something. You're dressing up. You're dressing up as a character, and you're role playing in that sense. So I think it is different to me.
Yeah, I mean, but still though, because you can role play, you can flirt all day, like and still be role play all day from that morning. Like you can act like you don't know her, and like it's still verbal. You know what I'm saying?
Not.
It's
I don't know
still-
you, but I know you.
Yeah. It's still, you know what I'm
But
saying?
that's how we role
it don't
playing it.
necessarily
That's
have
what
to
he's
be
saying.
It doesn't necessarily be dressing up.
clothes change. Role
No, yeah.
playing and flirting is intertwined.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You can wake up in the morning. Who I just woke? Who is you? You look good though, and we can carry that. You know what I'm saying? Through the
Throughout
rest
the
of the day.
Well, I think it's whether role play and flirting is one and the same is depending on if you want to make it one and the same. I think it is definitely separate for most people because flirting is one thing and then everybody's not in a role play, but every woman wants to be wanted and wants flirting. But if you want to make it one and the same, you can, but it's not really the same thing.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That role play can involve flirting, but flirting is what gets you prepared for what the male kind of wants that night
Okay.
or whatever during the day or whatever.
Okay.
That makes sense.
So, with that being said, how many times do you guys think that you should have sex in a week?
It really just depends on the couple.
Yeah, it depends on.
It depends on because you got a lot of environmental issues. And when I say environmental issues, I'm talking about work, children, and you know all the other things that go with being a married couple. But I recommend the couples to schedule. A schedule is important. I schedule a date night, schedule a time. Sometimes it's going to be spontaneous, but you have to, because of the hectic lives people live today, you got to make time. Because you can schedule out having nice sexual relationship, nice intimate relationship, nice quiet time with your spouse. I don't know. This is very subjective, and it depends on whether you're spontaneous. Because you know it's hard. Because listen, men are always in the mood. Women got to get in the mood. When they get home from work,
women.
well, I'm just saying the normal way things happen. You know, most women, they have to, you know, with all that they have going on outside, inside, they're emotional, they got to connect. Men don't need no cue. They always ready to go.
They on cue.
They on cue. They don't have to prepare. So it just depends, you know.
I agree.
I totally agree. I agree with that. I definitely think now sex is important, so you definitely have to schedule it because when I get married, you're going to have to give it to me now.
And I tell one of the things I tell couples that one of the things that they have to do if they really want to spice up their sex life is the bedroom should not be the only place where you have sex.
No.
It has to be, if it's spontaneous, you have to really, women do like spontaneity. Men are always
Open for it.
open for it.
Yeah.
But, you know, you got to really, you know, romance the stone is what I say. If she's up doing just normal house tasks, you got to sit there and watch and she's washing the dishes, walk up behind her and kiss her.
That's right.
And do things to kind of make her feel like you're attracted to her.
Right.
You got to do things. You just can't. You just can't wait till you get ready to go to bed. You can't do that, and that's what kills most people.
And
It's because they just want to wait till they get ready to go to bed. That's where we do it. No, that's not going to really make you have a healthy and vibrant sex life. It has to be something spontaneous. And if you walk up behind her while she's washing dishes and kiss her on the neck, automatically that's going to say
gonna
something
know
to
they're
her.
cute.
She going to say something.
Yeah.
Sure is.
And sometimes she might
Body
respond,
language
sometimes she
gonna say
will.
something.
But women love touch. Men don't need to be touched. Men are visual, women are emotional. Men respond by what they see, women by how they feel. If you see and you go and make her feel, you get her in the mood. Women have to be got in the mood. I'm not talking about you emotionally. Have to be got, put in the mood. But men are always in the mood, you know what I mean? So it just depends. I mean, I recommend that you have a very, because the most intimate thing you do that connects you is sex. It's something where you get close, you get connected, you bring pleasure to each other, and you express attraction also. You let the person that you with know that they are attractive. So if you don't ever touch them, and you don't have any sex, the person doesn't feel attracted. The man doesn't feel wanted. That's the way men are. We ain't got nothing about being attractive. We don't feel wanted if a woman don't want to have sex with her. A woman don't feel attracted if you don't want to have sex with her.
Wow.
I mean, but that's the to get a little deeper. That's the bonding. Like, if you want to be real, biblically, you're not even married until you have sex.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Until you consummate the marriage
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
wedding
yeah.
night, that's what makes you married.
Yeah.
And because that was the
Intent.
that was the Jacob and Leah thing. Once he went in and consummated that marriage in a tent, even though he didn't know who she was, because Laban had put a veil over her face. Once they consummated that marriage in a tent, they were married. That's what officially said, because in Jewish tradition, the father-in-law would give the groom a white blanket. He would put it under his bride, and once he broke the hymen, blood would come, signifying she was a virgin, and he could. That's what sealed the marriage. That blood on that blanket was a covenant. That's really what determined marriage, not the vows, the sex, the consummation.
And if she didn't bleed, then she had been messed with.
So women need to feel attractive, men need to feel wanted. And that's why you need a healthy sex life in a marriage and in relationships, because if either neglects one another in that marriage, the woman won't feel attractive and the man won't feel wanted. That's why they have to really connect on that area. And that's why most men cheat, or most women cheat. But you know, when it comes to that, they cheat for different reasons. Women cheat because they don't feel attractive, and if they don't feel attractive, they feel like the emotional connection is lost, and so they try to go emotionally reconnect with somebody else. Man feel like he's not wanted by the woman, and so then therefore he goes and cheats and finds a woman who make him feel like he's wanted, and so he goes and cheats.
Interesting. I never
Sounds
felt
good
that a man. That's why I was
Sounds
thinking
good
that
cheating.
it really wasn't
Sounds
because
good
they
cheating.
felt
I can't
they didn't
100%
feel wanted.
He
Sounds
wants to
good
feel
cheating.
wanted. That's a man's whole. He has to feel wanted.
So you believe that the man don't feel wanted, and it's not so much that the man don't feel like he's getting what he needs sexually.
Well, because he's not getting what he needs sexually, he feels like she doesn't want him. Because men are biologically tuned to procreate, and if it's just procreation in the act of sex for pleasure, that's what he feels like his job is. And if he's not able to do his job, he doesn't feel good about himself. Because I told you at the beginning of the discussion, men are egotistical, women are emotional. Everything's about his ego. He has to feel a certain way up here about himself.
But when you say able to do his job, what about the fact of, okay, so let's say if a man desires oral sex, that's not so much him not being able to do his job, that's more so him wanting something that his spouse may not want to give. So she may not like it, but he may love it. So if he go outside the marriage because he can get that somewhere else, What do you call that? That ain't.
You done switched it up.
But I think
Yeah.
Switch it up on me.
So what do y'all say about that?
But I
Okay,
think
now
you have
that's
to
still
be-
adultery.
I think you have to
Of
be.
course.
But I think you have to be sexually compatible. I mean, compatibility. You got to have these discussions before marriage and before you get into
There
a
you go.
relationship.
Let's be real.
You have to understand.
waters.
Are you sexually compatible, and have these conversations early and soon, so you can set some boundaries. Now, I hate to bring up 50 Shades of Grey. But I tell people from a clinical perspective and just to learn, that's one of the best movies. If you could just take away the visual and watch the movie and read the book, you can learn a lot. They became sexually compatible. They weren't at first, because you remember when he drew the red line, and then after they overcame that, they had a discussion about it, and then they got past that. Then that's when they became sexually compatible, and they were able to give him what he wanted and what she needed.
Right.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I definitely agree, but on a kind of different note, that's where I want to also pause and say that goes back to the importance of having sex according to the Word of God, because
Absolutely.
all of this not being able to please your spouse or whoever you're with is because you've had so many other experiences. Because
Right.
ultimately you are going to be sexual compatible when this is the only person you've had sex with.
Right.
So just to kind of put that in there, that goes back to like it's good to have those conversations, but when you are having sex in the right context, that eliminates a lot of the issues that we see between men and women, and whether they are pleasured correctly with sex.
Another thing too, I'm gonna just be real. This day and time, we test the water before we jump into relationships. I'm sorry. We want to know how big it is, how small it is. Can they handle me? Am I gonna be pleased with it? That's just facts. People want to see what you got down there before they.
Women, you talking about
I'm
women?
serious.
You talking about
Men and women want to see how it works. They want to see what they're going to be dealing with. They're not waiting. They're not waiting until their marriage to just touch a person. We being real. If we being real, people are not doing that in this day and time. They're actually testing it to see if they're going to be compatible before marriage.
Yeah, but and they are, but that creates a problem long term.
And it does.
long term relationships, because when you have a lot of sexual partners, you have a lot of people to compare your partner with.
Yeah.
And
That's true.
and then your partner has to be as good as the best person you ever been with, male or female.
Right.
Which, if they can't live up to that, then you're gonna struggle. And then that's the problem. And Jocelyn is right. That's the reason why it needs to be one man, one woman for a lifetime, and that experience needs to be a shared experience that you explore together and discover things together. And you can become sexually compatible if you save it and wait, and you get to discover each other, and then you discover what each other likes. I don't even think, based on the research, that men really know what women like or want. I don't think men really know what y'all want and like. Or I don't think either women don't know what men really want and like. They really don't, because so much of what we see now through culture, entertainment, music, they tell us what we like.
That's true.
And see, that's what changed everything. Because Sexy Red done changed the whole thing.
Right. It's
And
more
ain't
worldly
nobody
than
doing all that
godly.
stuff. Ain't nobody doing all that stuff she's
Yes.
singing about in that song. If you think that's what pleases, everybody doing that stuff. Everybody doing that done took it too far. I mean, we need to go back to the Teddy Pendergrass kind. Turn off the light.
Turn off the light.
And let's light a candle.
candle.
Not all this Sexy Red stuff.
But
And that
yes.
changes everything.
And it does.
And then people see that, and then we don't even want to talk about the pink elephant in the room, how pornography changes our perception of sex
it does.
and relationships and marriage.
Now we want to try
And
it.
then we want our spouses or the person that we're in and our husband and wives to do that stuff. She can't do that stuff. She can't. That's unrealistic expectation.
Yes.
And that's fantasy, not reality.
You look for
Yeah,
it.
you look for that.
You look for it, but how long do your looking and when you get with that person last? How long do it last? Just for that pleasure? Just for that moment? No.
So on the subject of oral sex, I don't think it's a requirement. Well, some may have it, not me personally, but a scenario that I personally had was where an ex, but she said she didn't like oral sex, but the reason that she gave her ex-boyfriend oral sex was because she was trying to keep him. Now, yes, this came on one of them nights, a drunken night or whatever, but that was the thing that stuck in my head. So you gave your ex-boyfriend oral sex to keep him. But the thing is, we didn't discuss it. It wasn't discussed. It wasn't a conversation. That's why it's very important that these things have to be discussed. Mm-hmm. Now, it wouldn't have been a problem at all because I don't have to have it. Right. Now, as far as me on the other end, it might be a different story. You know what I'm saying? As far as me giving it, but I don't necessarily have to have it. But when you tell me that, then yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah,
that's a problem, and it was a problem. I ain't gonna cap. It was a problem.
Which raises Josh and A's point is those having multiple relationships before you get married affects your marriage and your relationship when you get married because people change and this conversation could get so weighty and heavy, but when couples get married there's a unrealistic expectation, then there's realistic expectations. That's right. Because people change. Men change, women change, body types change, people change. And then when you start dating and get married and then be married, you have a lot more stress, a lot more things going on in your marriage, children, family, paying bills, trying to keep jobs, get jobs, all these things it affects. And then, it just depends on that marriage and those relationships, what each other needs. I know the main thing is you got to provide your spouse's needs. The Bible says that the bed is undefiled within the context of marriage. You have to determine what the limits are.
That's right.
But you cannot pressure your spouse to do something they feel uncomfortable with.
That's right.
There has to be a safe word. There has to be something to where you can't make your spouse do what they feel uncomfortable doing, even though it might bring you pleasure. There has to be limits because you just have to have limits. And I know some couples, they have trouble because one of them have an unrealistic expectation that they just doesn't feel comfortable doing that. And then it creates stress in the marriage. You have to be comfortable. The person, they have to stay in their comfort zone.
And for the viewers, I got to make this clear. Just because the bed is undefilable, it don't mean you can do everything.
No,
exactly.
Because a lot of people will use that and be like, the bedroom is undefilable. You can do whatever, bring in, but no, it don't mean that at all. Let's go and clear it up right now. I don't want y'all to take that out of context.
It has to be. You have to make sure your spouse is comfortable.
That's right.
That it's pleasurable because you can. I'm telling you, pornography and music has changed, especially rap music. The way we have relationships, have sex, it's completely changed. The culture. Well, primarily that's the focus because that's what most people, that's the genre that most people listen to that talks more about women and sex and, it's wretched, just really.
I got this group Joan that, Pastor. Okay. I got this group Joan that, let me tell you why.
What R&B song is wretched?
Let me tell you why, because I had to do my own research. It's music back in the day. I don't know. It's a movie that
We're talking about music. We're talking about movie. We're talking about music.
No, that's what I'm talking about. Okay. I do this for a living.
Okay.
It's music back in the day I'm talking about in the 60s, 50s, where it's not published like it is, but they did make a whole movie on it on Netflix about the godmother of blues. And she was talking about she was talking about you can't, it's not just rap. Al Green said I'm a lick.
But it
Word.
wasn't.
No.
But it wasn't as publicly available and published and played on the radio. It wasn't.
Well, not on the radio, not on the radio, but in
You
general.
listen to it in your house on that big
But you see what I'm saying?
on a grown phone.
But you see what I'm
But
saying?
it wasn't
though?
played on the air 24 hours a day,
you see what
7
I'm saying,
days,
though?
7 days a
So
week.
it's not just rap. No.
Right now, it's more sexable. It's telling kids to do stuff to even harm themselves.
Yeah.
Telling young ladies to be B's and H's and you know what I'm saying. It's not the same. I'm sorry. I'm from the Delta and we grew up on old school. And when I tell you, that was real music and it was real life based music. And these was stuff that was actually happening in the house with couples and you know they got together and they enjoyed life. But now it's just. Y'all, in this day and time, no.
But still,
Nah.
sex is sex. When you talk,
Yeah, but sex and red is.
You can sing about it. You can sing about it. You can rap about it. Sex is sex. I don't
it's
care how you
just-
sugarcoat it. I don't care how you
just-
put it.
Underrated.
Sex is sex.
Well, I believe there are plenty of music that talks about sex, but the difference is when you think of the old time blues and the old music and things like that are sexual music for the bedroom, a lot of it was catered around married couples. The difference now is it's publicized that you're supposed to be ratchet for anybody.
Anybody.
Give
And
yourself to the hook.
I think that is the main difference. Not because you don't have some of the same stuff going on, but none of the stuff they talk about in the ratchet songs as far as sex is necessarily bad. It's just the context of what they putting it in is wrong.
Yeah. And you cannot underestimate, for this discussion, that 80% of the content on social media is pornographic, and how that affects sexual relationships within marriage and sexual relationship between two people, giving unrealistic expectations. Those images play out in people's minds, and you want to translate that into your bedroom in your marriage. Your wife ain't shaped like that. She ain't that girl. And there's no way she gonna be able to contort and do all that you see on that. And she's not gonna debase herself to do some of the things that you see on pornography. So pornography has had a tremendous effect on the way we have sex today. It has absolutely transformed the way we have sex today. And that you can't underestimate that today. But I think couples have to be comfortable, and they have to really be comfortable. And you have to set some limits. You have to set some limits.
Be you.
That's the main thing.
Don't lose your natural urge to be satisfied by your spouse, and you can lose that. You absolutely can lose that. I think I wanted to bring this tonight and share with you the top 5 needs of a wife, top 5 needs of a husband, and share that with you and to give some perspective on this idea of relationships and sex. The top 5 needs of a wife: number 1 is affection, number 2 is conversation, number 3 is honesty and openness, number 4 is financial support, and number 5 is family commitment. The top 5 needs of a husband or a man is: number 1 is sexual fulfillment, 2nd is recreational companionship, 3rd is an attractive spouse, and 4th is domestic support, and 5th is admiration, and that's about his ego. You got to make him feel like he's the man. And I think it would be an opportunity if we could explore these in a discussion and have a conversation about each of these. That's the way you can understand each other about what their needs is, because women, in any statistic, in any data, sex is not number 1 for women. It's affection. For men, it's always number 1.
It ain't number 1 for all men.
But every couple I've ever counseled over the 40 years, if I give them this list, sex gonna be number 1. All the way, always. It never moves. But for women, affection is number 1. So,
For some women, I know sex is number 1. So I can't agree with that. I can't disagree with that. It ain't like that for everybody.
It ain't.
For me, sex is not. It's not number 1. You just want me. Me just knowing you there. Before sex is more important to me because righteously, group is everywhere. Me being a musician and all that, and I can have sex with anybody. That's easy. I don't necessarily just I don't want that first. So that's not true for me.
That's interesting.
Well, that is an interesting perspective. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming out,
Thank you.
giving us
You're welcome.
those viewpoints, allowing us to get perspective from both men and women. And thank you for watching us today.
Let's talk about how you really feel.